Hi guys, hope you're all well. Today I'm going to do a little interesting video, and this is if you are struggling with fitting your triathlon training in and around your work and personal life. And if so, you may want to watch this for the next 10 minutes. So an overwhelming number of triathletes that I've spoken to say that time is the main challenge they face when it comes to training and racing. And it's finding that optimal work-life training balance that really is a problem. And it can cause a lot of unnecessary stress actually. It can be quite difficult for age groupers. And this isn't my opinion, I've actually gone out there and spoken to a lot of triathletes, and it's overwhelming the majority of the responses that come back saying time is the biggest challenge that they face. So today I want to introduce a little training technique, one of many that can be done, but it may well help to begin to change that situation for you. Because I have news. You don't have to be exhausted all the time, and you shouldn't have to be on the brink of a breakdown in order to get ready to perform for your next race day. And that's even if you're doing long course, like a 70.3. Another massive bonus to this technique that I'm going to talk through is it requires no financial investment. So that means more money can go into the old new bike pot, which is, what every age group wants to hear. So today I'm going to discuss an article that's brand new out, and it's from my old colleagues in Liverpool John Moores University, and it's discussing carbohydrate periodization and a new hypothesis to enhance training adaptation for the endurance athlete. Now, if there are literally not enough hours in the day for you, this is something that you might be able to start using immediately to begin adapting better to your training. And I'm actually going to talk through a practical example at the end. So the method is manipulating carbohydrate content during training. And why would you do this though? Well, the latest research suggests that doing this at specific times in and around training can potentially give you a bigger bang for your buck when it comes to enhancing training adaptation and healthy living. So let's break it down simply over the next 2 minutes. You get two models. You can train high or train low, and the high or low relates to how much carbohydrate we have available to us. So let's discuss practically. Train low. We'll start at the top. We may go out for a bike ride for maybe 2 to 4 hours, okay? During the ride, we ingest protein, or we don't ingest anything, we have fasted. We get back, we recover with a high protein and veg feed, so very low carbs, and then we recover again with another protein feed, again, very little carbohydrate. We'd probably describe that as training low because you have limited availability of glycogen in the muscle. Training high, however, we go out for a 4-hour ride, we have our gels, we have our Lucozade, we keep the carbohydrate coming in, and then post we recover well, we maximize the glycogen stores, and we resynthesize the carbohydrate stores in the muscle. We class that as training high. Now, this is a schematic showing a muscle cell, okay, what's going on inside the cell of a muscle. But I don't want you to focus on all the little nitty gritty details. All I want you to see is the little men running across the top. Because we can see that high fat meal, leucine enriched protein, and endogenous carbohydrate. So all this is really describing to us and documenting is the effects of different macronutrients when we ingest them, the direct impact that they can have on the cell that have direct implications for either increasing or decreasing certain adaptations to training. So what we're trying to do is really maximize adaptations for endurance work by manipulating the carbohydrate, the exogenous CHO route. Interestingly, the research over the last couple of years in this topic has found that over 75% of the papers to date have actually noticed beneficial responses in things like oxidative enzyme activity and protein content beyond what is achieved when people are training like with carbohydrate fully fueled. So this would imply that low glycogen availability has a potential to maximize the response to endurance training for the same time. And this is a glycogen molecule, so this is how carbohydrate is actually formed within the muscle. This is what it looks like when carbohydrates form within the muscle. So it actually seems that the hypothesis at the minute is there's a certain threshold of how much of these molecules we need to have left before we start really upregulating these cellular processes. But this is what's interesting at the minute. It's a very new area of research and we don't really know. But this is the hypothesis, and this is why training with carbohydrate restrictive methods can really drive down the muscular level towards this optimal threshold, which we think is important for training adaptation. And we've done some pros and cons on what happens when you go low or high, which we did in a previous article, which I can link to at the bottom of the video. So This strategy is becoming more established now in the scientific literature and people are starting to pay attention. However, it's probably likely going to take another decade of work to establish any actual scientific insight into how best to use this method in practice. All this review did brilliantly was highlight some of the key progressions that still need to take place. Nevertheless, here is a practical framework proposed by the group that wrote this excellent review, and I'm going to talk through with you now. So, here we are. Here is a practical proposed model, and it's really quite interesting. So we have high carb, medium carb, low carb, green, orange, red. Okay, so as you can see, day 1, 2, 3, 4. So a 4-day training cycle, pre-training meal, during training, post-training, and evening meals. So 4 to 6 hours of high intensity riding. This could be over the mountains where you're doing repeated threshold work. Working above lactate threshold is normally inducing a lot of glycogen use within the muscles. So glycogen, that glycogen molecule, that's the predominant substrate which is responsible for keeping those muscles contracting and keeping you working at higher rates of energy expenditure throughout the ride. So that's why we need to always maintain a good supply of exogenous carbohydrate intake so the muscles can still perform when we need them to at higher intensities. However, when we move to day 2, we can actually, from the evening meal, implement a lower carb strategy. So we go to bed with a kind of a lower carb meal in us, and then the following day, because we're working at low intensity below threshold, that's when we begin to utilize fat as a substrate more. So substrate utilization, it kind of switches towards fat oxidation. Therefore, the importance of glycogen is basically down-regulated. So we don't actually need to keep supplying the muscle with constant influx of carbohydrate, which will then be used as glucose or glycogen. So we can train low during these lower intensity rides. We refuel once we've finished, okay? Because the next day we've got a higher intensity ride again. So again, anytime you're doing high intensity work, at the minute the literature is really not there to suggest that low carbohydrate with high intensity work would be beneficial, although it's an interesting discussion. We'll keep it evidence-based for the minute. And then finally, last day again, recovery session. Anytime we're below threshold, we really can try and maximize the adaptation we get from these low intensity sessions where fat is the predominant substrate. We don't need glycogen, so therefore carbohydrate intake is less important. So this model, really interesting. Now, I've been fortunate enough to dip my toe into some of this research myself, currently with one publication in carbohydrate research, which I'm quite happy with, and then obviously other physiology research papers behind my name as well. And this kind of knowledge gives me enough to translate back to you guys simply anyway. But more importantly, my background as an exercise physiologist and sports scientist means I'm actually always on top of the latest research, specifically research aiming to positively impact your triathlon performance come race day, because that's my passion, that's my interest. So going back to my original point, if you are currently struggling with finding a healthy work, family life, social life or training life balance, then you should listen in. Because what I want to do is I want to make you an offer to join me on a complimentary planning session where I'm going to physically sit down with you and try and aim to design a time-efficient 3-week training plan for you, personalised to you. And it's going to be free of charge. Now, you may be thinking, why on earth would you do that? Like, what's the catch? Oh, here we go again. Okay, truthfully, there is no catch. There's a reason why I spent the time speaking to triathletes, learning from them, what their motivation is, what their challenges are. And it's the exact same reason why I became a coach in the first place, and that is I want to help as many people as possible. From my end, if you find value in the session that I'm offering you, complimentary, and you ever want to invest in finding a coach down the line to take you to the next level, then I hope that I will be the guy that pops into your mind and you can drop an email to. However, there's no conditions, there's no obligations from this call, but that is what I'm aiming to get out of this, to leave a good impression with you. And therefore you may, have some friends in triathlon that kind of are looking for a coach and you go, I tell you what, this guy Scott, he knows his stuff. You should go and speak to him. So that's my kind of selfish output from offering this to you as a service. But if you're still skeptical, and I don't blame you, because nowadays there are people everywhere online offering you the world when it, half the time it's utter garbage and it just is an utter waste of your time and everyone's, which is the whole point of this. You haven't got much time. So how about this? To ensure that this is not the case for you, because I know your time is precious, I'm going to make you another deal. If you feel like this planning session wastes even 1 second of your time, I will literally give you 2 months of my premium coaching package totally free of charge. That's right. The worst thing that you can possibly happen if you get on a call with me to discuss this stuff and go through a time efficient training program for you is you walk away with 2 months of complimentary premium coaching that's worth almost $1,000 if you feel like it hasn't lived up to expectations. Now, that's how confident I am that I'm going to get you excited and make a positive impact on this work-life training balance that loads of amateur triathletes struggle with. And I'm going to aim to do this all in under 30 minutes for you. So before you go any further, I just want you to know that this isn't for everyone, and I can't help everyone, obviously. So this session is only really of benefit to the amateur triathlete who is struggling with time management, you know, the busy working professional, the mum at home, the people that are really struggling and are really trying to pack everything in tightly, and they're, you know, it's just something has got to give. That's who it's for. The service is not for people that just kind of like to dip their toe in the water from time to time. They're busy people, but they're not really asked about triathlon. So what I would say is, unless you're training at least 5 hours a week, you probably need to think twice before applying for this session, because it probably means you're not quite at the level of commitment that maybe you should be to really go through this stuff. So here's what to do next. If you are interested in scheduling a planning session and you like what I've said, simply click the link below the video. When you click, you'll see a form. I need you to fill that out, and that's going to give me some information on you. Press submit, and on the following page, hit the link. You can pick 3 time slots to book in with me that suit you based on my calendar availability. And in the meantime, I'll do some analysis. I'll go through your questions and answers, and then we'll agree a time to go through it all together. And we'll work on some absolute gems, all things training, structure, sessions, intensities, you name it, tips and tricks that all aim to streamline your progression as a triathlete. Efficient training, time efficient training, leaving you more time for the important stuff in life, which, believe it or not, because I know triathletes absolutely love triathlon, but the important stuff, work, family, friends, mainly the last two, because come on, we don't need to work. So to re-emphasize, the worst thing that can possibly happen if you get on a call with me is you walk away with 2 months of complimentary premium triathlon coaching that's worth almost $1,000. Now, I'm hoping this isn't the case, and I'm 99% sure that this won't be the case, because I'm going to offer you such good value during the call. So I look forward to catching up with you, and I hope you go and fill the form out now. And I'm looking forward to making a positive impact on your work-life balance, because, you know, you don't deserve to be stressed for no reason. Time efficient training, it's where it's at. I'm going to sort you out. Happy training. Hopefully speak soon. See you later.